There are several features in your Sierra account that can be used to check for agent accountability. The first step to holding agents accountable is to establish clear goals and expectations for your team. If you want to get a baseline for how your team is currently performing, the Agent Accountability Dashboard is a great place to start. You can access the dashboard by selecting the gear icon and then choosing Accountability Dashboard. So to get the best idea of how your agents have been recently performing, I would suggest keeping the date range to just leads that have been received within the past month. And then for the time that the lead was assigned, you'll want to be sure that these hours are set to your team's business hours, because the data could be misleading if you're including leads that entered the system, let's say in the middle of the night. I would also suggest keeping all lead sources checked for the leads. But once you select the rest of your criteria, then there'll be a report that's generated right here at the bottom that has a bunch of great important pieces of data for you to use. So you'll be able to see for each agent when they last logged in, how many sessions that they've logged in for, their total amount of new leads in that date range, and then of that total amount, how many have never been viewed, how many have never received an e-alert or an email or phone call or task associated. And you'll also be able to see the time that it took for that first email to go out, and also the time that it took for the agent to place that first phone call. You can use this information to set goals for your agents, both as a team and individually. It's important to make sure that these goals are challenging but still attainable. So some examples of expectations that you might want to set for your team include how quickly that you'd like for them to view a lead after receiving it, how quickly they should be reaching out to a lead after they receive it, the different communication methods that you'd like for agents to be using to reach out to those leads, and how frequently they should be following up. If there are going to be any type of consequences for not meeting those targets, let's say such as a lead being reassigned or moved to a pond, you'll also want to make sure that you're communicating that information to your team in advance. And of course, when your agents do reach their targets, don't forget to call out those victories and celebrate them. Let's take a look at how automations in Sierra can be used to support agent accountability. You can navigate over to your automations by selecting the gear icon and choosing automations. And then let's walk through a couple different automations that you might want to create. So the first one, let's say that one expectation that you've set for your team is that you want agents viewing a new lead within 1 day of being assigned. We'll title this one, New Lead Viewed. And then we can, for the when this happens, set that the date registered was 1 day ago as your trigger. And then for the criteria, we can set that the agent has not viewed the lead. So let's say a lead has registered a day ago and the agent hasn't viewed them. Maybe if this is the case, what you want to do is to go ahead and create a task for that agent, and then remind them to please make sure to view this lead and reach out. And you can add that action and go ahead and save your new automation. Another automation that you might want to create will be, let's say, another expectation that you set is that you want your agents making that initial phone call to a lead within 2 days of them being entered into your system. So we'll call this new automation, New Lead Initial Call. And then we can set our date registered to 2 days ago as our trigger. And then for our criteria, we can say agent phone calls, and then the number placed is less than 1. So maybe if a lead has entered the system 2 days ago and the agent still has not made 1 phone call, you want to, for your action, go ahead and create a note saying, please make initial call to this lead today. Maybe you want to email that agent that note, and for extra visibility you can also choose to add a manager to be emailed as well. So we'll add that action, and then you can go ahead and save that automation. And then another automation that you might want to add, let's say you set the expectation that within the first week of receiving a new lead, you want the agent to have at least made 2 phone calls and sent 1 text to that lead. So we can call this new lead follow-ups. And set our date registered to 7 days ago. That'll be our trigger for our criteria. We can add 2, so we can say that agent phone calls number placed was less than 2. And then also agent text messages, number placed less than 1. So maybe if that lead has been in the database for 7 days or has been registered for 7 days and they have not placed those 2 phone calls and sent a text message to the lead still, you want to go ahead and reassign that lead to, let's say it's a buyer lead, maybe your buyer Shark Tank pond. I would suggest always notifying the old agents of that move. So maybe you want to say lead reassigned to pond due to lack of follow-up. And then you could go ahead and add that action. So these are just a couple of examples of how you can use your Sierra CRM for agent accountability. But for more tips and tricks, make sure to follow us.